Right. You know what happens if you're the biggest retailer in the world at any point in history, as far as I can tell?
There's a lot of small businesses that hate you and want to bring you down.
It's the early 1920s, and the A&P is opening 7 new stores every day. They're stacking days.
Stunning.
They're vertically integrating. They're building bakeries around the country, leasing salmon canneries in Alaska, selling so many store brands that they buy a can factory to put all the stuff in the cans that say A&P on them. But this growth, the fact that they're a billion-dollar company, the fact that they're a chain store competing with these charming mom-and-pop stores, this is creating an army of enemies. A big chunk of America is starting to turn on the A&P here. And some of the enemies are like just obviously self-interested, right? Like all the brokers and middlemen, all the people behind the wholesalers and the mom and pop stores, they are obvious enemies of the A&P because the A&P is going right at them. But of course, the more charming and in kind of a narrative way important enemy of the A&P is the mom and pop stores, right?
Think about this, right? You're an immigrant. You've started a little grocery store. Maybe you live behind the store, right? Your kids maybe work stocking in the store, do their homework, behind the counter. And every day you got to walk by the big A&P that are charging prices that you literally cannot do it because you have no negotiating power. And I mean, that is something like you can picture and you can feel for that person. You can't just say, well, shut it all down. It's all going to be A&P in the future.
There is something fundamentally compelling about small business, right? I actually have a theory of it, which is everybody loves small business because Democrats love the small, the underdog, and Republicans love the business.
Yeah.
It's business, something for everybody, right? So in America in the 1920s, the small business versus big business story divide is playing out really clearly with your, friendly grocer across the street, and then the A&P, which is run by some faceless millionaire who lives in the Plaza Hotel in New York City. So there is this anti-chain store vibe swirling around, and this one, I'm going to call him an opportunist because he's such an opportunist, comes along and grabs this anti-chain store sentiment and just rides it. His name is William Kennan Henderson. Lives outside of Shreveport, Louisiana, grows up in a rich family. I think they have some kind of iron business. And he buys a local radio station. His initials, William Kennan Henderson, are WKH, so he names the station KWKH. Narcissist, loves to be on the radio, named the station after himself. Cranks it up to 10,000 watts.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an AM station at 10,000 watts, you could hear it probably at night over half the United States of America.
So he cranks the station up to 10,000 watts and becomes like kind of low-key famous as Old Man Henderson, a.k.a. Doggone Henderson, a.k.a. Hello World Henderson.
Because he would always begin his show by saying, hello, world. Here, let's hear something.
Hello, world. It's 8 o'clock. This is Old Man Henderson talking to you.
That gives you the feel for Old Man Henderson, yeah.
But Old Man Henderson is like this proto-shock jock. He has this amazing thing going where listeners will write in to complain about the show, and then he insults them. It's this great bit that everybody seems to be in on. So here, we have a letter and a response here. Read the letter from the listener that he read on the air.
I'm a frequent listener in on radio station KWKH of Shreveport, Louisiana, and believe that the disgusting language and profane remarks by W.K. Henderson over the air from said station are sufficient reason for the Federal Radio Commission to invoke its own rules and regulations and revoke the license of such station. The moralists did not like Old Man Henderson.
So read the response.
So this is Old Man Henderson's response. Why in hell don't you turn the little knobs of your radio set? Every radio set has little knobs on it. You made an ass out of yourself by sending me this telegram.
That's a scary Old Man Henderson. I like that.
Doggone it.
I'm intimidated. So one day in 1929, he has a friend of his come on the show. His friend runs a local bank there in Shreveport, and the banker is against these new chain stores like A&P. But anyway, guess why the banker didn't like chain stores?
Because if you're a local banker, you are not lending money to A&P in New Jersey. You're lending money to tiny mom and pop businesses to start their own grocery stores. You make a living on the inefficiencies of little small businesses.
Yes. So the banker comes on the show and does this anti-chain store rant. And then after that, all this mail starts to flood into the studio from listeners who are like, yeah, I hate chain stores too. They take all our money and they send it off to those evil bankers on Wall Street instead of, keeping it in the community. And so Old Man Henderson decides he has found his great cause, right? He has found this thing that he can ride the popular anger on. And so he starts attacking chain stores all the time on his show. Here's this one little clip that we found.
The idea is to chain everything, confound it and plague take it. You want to write to your senators. You want to write to your congressmen. It's all wrong, doggone it.
Write a letter. Robert, we've got more in the transcript. Give me more Henderson.
We can whip these chain stores. We can whip the whole cockeyed world when we are right. I'll be your leader. I'll whip hell out of them if you will support me. Which is probably why they're writing in about his language. Whip the hell out of him? I mean, this was edgy.
A little much.
And then he starts calling for boycotts. Boycotts of the AMP. We can drive them out in 30 days if you people will stay out of their stores. Dagnammit.
And confound it.
So even though the folks at A&P are getting up every morning and trying to figure out how to get cheaper groceries to people beset by the Depression.
Yes. Yes.
People are like, I would rather punish the big people than buy cheaper groceries.
Yes. And that is, in fact, what happens. And crucially, these people who are being harmed by stores like the A&P get the ear of this congressman named Wright Patman. Grew up in a 2-room log house in Texas, worked as a tenant farmer. And I do think he genuinely felt, the plight of the small businessman up against the chain store. And in 1935, he introduced a bill to amend the Clayton Antitrust Act, one of the key pieces of competition law in America. And the language of his bill is incredible. This is a bill in Congress that's going to become a law. It's not a radio show. The headline of this section of the bill says, in all caps, the evil.
Let me read this.
Yeah, give it to us.
The Goliath is the huge chain stores sapping the civic life of local communities with an absentee overlordship, draining off their earnings to his coffers and reducing their independent businessmen to employees or to idleness. His opponents are not only the independent competitors whom he seeks to eliminate, but the consuming public, whom he hopes then to have at his mercy. That last part is a really crucial thing in this anti-chain store rhetoric, which is they're saying, sure, you have cheap prices now, but what happens when everybody goes out of business and A&P runs everything in your life? Then they'll jack up the prices and you will be at their mercy, as it says in the bill.
Wright Patman's bill passes, makes it illegal for manufacturers to give discounts to big purchasers like the A&P if doing so lessens competition, which ends up being hard to prove, but makes it harder. So it is clearly going directly at these practices they have used to drive down their own costs. And it works. It has its intended effect. The A&P raises its prices because it basically has to. Congratulations, success.
Yeah.